everyone, welcome into Attacking Third Tuesday morning. We've got a great episode for you because we're taking a little trip. Grab your passports, ladies. We're going north to our brothers and sisters in Canada to talk all about the Northern Super League, what it is, who's playing in it, why do we care about it, what does this mean? Plus, we get Canadian women's national team midfielder and new star of the Northern Super League, Desiree Scott, joining the show live to talk about this new league. And of course, I couldn't do it alone. Alongside Christine Cupo and McCall Zerboni, I'm Lisa Carlin. Guys, good morning. Christine, you made it here. We had a close
Chat,
one. You almost
chat. We gotta have a chat. Your girl locked herself out of her apartment with Gigi this morning, and it got a little close. I was sweating in my hallway, wondering if I was gonna make it to you in one piece. $425. You can start a GoFundMe for me later. I'm in my apartment and I'm happy to be here. So we're gonna pretend that didn't happen, but I'm happy to share my embarrassment.
Although we're so glad you're in your apartment and you look fabulous, you sound great, it would have been pretty fun for you to do the show from your hallway on your phone with your dog. So
Girl, I had my
next time.
laptop. I had my laptop and I was already testing to see if my Wi-Fi could. Nothing
Well,
was keeping me from you.
we're glad you're here. McCall, it is always good to see your smiling face. How are you, friend?
I'm doing great. Nothing can stop A3. You would have banged down your door. We would have made this happen. It's all good.
See, I knew you. You know what? You're a great motivational speaker, McCall. I would have had you on speakerphone as I was ramming my shoulder into my door futilely. But I like that you have the faith in me.
No doubt.
Guys, we have to dive into it because big topics to chat about today. The Northern Super League, the NSL for short. It's coming fast and furious, and it is here. So let's talk about it. The Northern Super League is the new top division professional women's soccer league in Canada. Congrats, Canada. This is awesome. And it starts before you know it. It kicks off tomorrow, Wednesday, April 16th, with the opening match of Vancouver Rise hosting Calgary Wild. It is going to be a 75-game regular season, 6 teams competing. There will be 4 teams that make the postseason. The semifinals will be 2 legs, and then a 1-match final that takes place November 15th. So it goes from April 16th through November 15th. And this is a big deal for so many different reasons, but one of them is because former players are involved in the ownership of this. So it is a league owned and operated by Project 8 Sports Inc., which is co-founded by former Canadian women's national soccer team superstar Diana Matheson. And this has been such a long time coming for Canada. I mean, they've had leagues before in their past. Players have always wanted to get back to it. They announced the NSL in December of 2022, and now it kicks off, McCall. Finally, there has to be a sense of like, yes, we finally made it. We get matches, and we are underway for the Northern Super League.
I'm genuinely excited to see the competition. I want to see which teams do well, if there's parity, the things that we kind of look for and that we appreciate in the NSL. A lot of Americans in this league, a lot of internationals, so people we can continue to watch even though they've left the NSL, that will continue to see them perform. And they're our neighbors, right? Like they called it the Northern Super League because they're north of us. We're all connected. And, it's just going to be a great thing for everyone to kind of now add another team to their caliber if you are into watching that league, So I love Gotham, but I also love Toronto, so it could be cool.
If you know where they are on the map, I'm still learning, admittedly.
East
I
Coast,
do have
East
to
Coast, Lisa.
Okay, East Coast. Got it. I know where Toronto is. I got that one
I'm gonna get
down.
Lisa a map of Canada on a t-shirt so that she can just like intimately know it. This was illuminating, Lisa. I didn't realize that one of my smartest friends was like, where's Halifax? She knows now, don't worry.
I know now. I've Google mapped it, everyone. I figured it out. But this is so good for the growth of the game, for more women's professional leagues, for the growth of the sport. Honestly, for Canada women's national team and the international program, their youth teams that they can bring up, they now have an avenue for young players to aspire to play professionally in their own country. And we've seen a lot of players already that have left the NWSL, gone to play in Canada, maybe players being pulled out of retirement even. McCall, you have played in Vancouver. You're not going to leave us. You're not pulling out of retirement to go back to the NSL, are you?
No, I mean, to be fair, before I decided to not play anymore, I did think about, I was talking with some of the teams for this league. And it was very appealing. It's great. They have a great setup. Obviously, Diana Matheson knows what she's doing, and she's doing it from a player perspective, which I really love. It's not just a whole bunch of people with money who have never been at that eye level of what it takes for players and resources and all the things that they need throughout the season. But yeah, I played for Vancouver Whitecaps. I thought I was going to leave college early and not go back to school. So at the time, Canada was the only place that had a professional league. So it was the Vancouver Whitecaps in 2007. And I was teammates with Christine Sinclair. And that was the first time I ever met her. And I remember just like my mind was blown. I was only like a 19-year-old kid, like thinking I was ready to go pro. And then I saw the level of Sink and like what she brought day in and day out. And it taught me so much that like I went back to school. I was like, I'm not ready.
It taught you so much that you weren't ready.
Yeah, I was like, no.
I don't know many people that would have been 19 and completely not shook seeing.
No, it was
like, I gotta play with her. I can offer her some water, perhaps a towel. I don't know.
Yeah. And she dominated me in college. I was at UCLA. She was a senior. I was a freshman, and Portland beat us in the championship game of the Final Four. So I already was like, had a lot of respect for her. And then living with her day to day at training and stuff, just even blew my mind with more respect. And so I'm really happy to hear that she's involved in this program still. Yeah.
Did you play against her first, or did you play with her first?
Against her first in college. And then my next meeting with her was at Vancouver Whitecaps with her.
Did you tell her who you were? Like, I was on that team that you beat?
Oh, for sure. She didn't remember me. She didn't know who the heck I was. But I was just like, listen, I looked up to you. I was actually kind of scared of you.
So, McCall, I want to ask, you were there then, right? And you got an idea of like what pro women's soccer could be like for Vancouver, for Canada. Taking this great leap forward now, like, was there even an inkling of a dream back then that like this would be its own separate league? That, is there a massive fan base in Canada? Did you feel like this was something that people really wanted and it's finally arriving at this sort of high point?
They've been a huge soccer town for a very, very long time. They have a wonderful development program. They have Vancouver Whitecaps like youth building into the senior team. Fans are great. Soccer is super loved in that area. I mean, I'm going to go for Vancouver this year because I feel like it's going to be just an amazing thing to add to that city and just to the rest of their country in competition to see where they measure up, and to have that skeleton be there for so long, that foundation, will that serve them in competition, or are the new teams at an advantage because it's more fresh? We'll see.
Oh, I like that. Who are you supporting in this season, McCall? Who are you going with?
I'm going with Vancouver, man. And we get to watch Steph LeBay. She was my teammate at one point also. So I'm definitely going with them. She's the manager. And then we have Jazz Spencer, Nikki Stanton, and Quinn on Vancouver as well. And they're previous NSL players. So we'll keep an eye out with them and for them.
Oh, I like that one. McCall, which team are you keyed in on? Players that you have stood out to you that maybe we might know as NWSL fans, and which team are they on?
Yeah, like the players I just mentioned, Vancouver, and then, Megan Doherty-Howard. I'm sure everybody remembers her. She played in the league for a long time. She's with Calgary. That's in Alberta. For all people that don't know out there.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Christine, what about you? Which team?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to be rooting for, and also my pick right now that I've been looking at is AFC Toronto. I love that city, and I always say it's like cleaner New York, but I know that people say that a lot about a lot of cities. I stand by it. Keeping an eye on some familiar names like Victoria Pickett, who was a Rookie of the Year finalist in 2021 with the Current that we're all familiar with, and then Maya Jones from the San Diego Wave, and Amanda West from the Dash, who are also joining that Toronto squad, which I feel like, heck yeah, familiarity, good city.
Yeah.
Like, if there were like a random pick where they were just like, hey, let's pick a scrub player with no knees, I'd go.
There's a lot of
Toronto.
There's a lot of notables across the league, across the different teams. I'm looking at Calgary Wild FC. This is on the West Coast, McCall. I do know that one. It's in Alberta. But Maggie Doherty Howard, she's a longtime NWSL player in the midfield. She spent 8 years playing across the NWSL. She was with Washington, Orlando, San Diego, Angel City. So she's playing for Calgary Wild. Also, Sarah Griffith, who is a former Chicago then Red Stars player. She's also on this team. And then there's a number of NCAA players that have gone to this NSL, including Sarah Keedy Dilling, who played at the University of Texas. And she was a standout goalkeeper for them. She was the team's all-time leader in games started, wins, and shutouts. She had 20 shutouts during her collegiate career. So that's, for me, Calgary is a team that I'm keyed in on because there's a lot of different players there that I want to watch. But now we just listed 3, maybe 4 of these teams. There's only 6 teams to start this league, which is not bad, right? Considering when you compare it to NWSL that in 2013 had 8 teams to start it. But the 6 teams in the Northern Super League are Halifax Tides FC, Montreal Roses FC, AFC Toronto, Calgary Wild FC, Ottawa Rapid FC, and Vancouver Rise. With these 6 teams, McCall, they're going to play 75 games across this first season from April to November. You played in the NWSL in 2013 in the inaugural season. Put this into perspective for us, what this means for 6 teams, 75 games.
What a concern for me is with how many games and how little teams is that's a lot of travel. And I don't know if people understand how vast Canada is. It's huge. It'll take you 6-7 hours to get from one side of the country to the other, just very similar to America. And also there's 6 time zones. So that always poses difficult in your prep and in your transition and all those things into where your local game is played at and where you're leaving from. And they have a team in Halifax, which takes either a ferry or a boat to get there. It's literally an island. So, are they leaving 4 or 5 days before the game just to leave some margin for error in case something goes wrong with travel? I mean, these are difficult places to get to, and they have to do it quite often because they have to play each other so many times.
I'm just going to call it like Little Venezia now because they have to arrive to their stadium by boat too. So if you like, I'm going to start comparing and contrasting leagues and be like, if you like this, how about this for NSL?
75 games for these 6 teams. And in 2013, the NWSL had 8 teams and they played 88 games in 2013. A similar setup to 2 home matches, 1 away, and then the next year you switched. But instead of us continuing to just give speculation about it, let's talk to someone who's actually about to play in it. We are so pleased to welcome now to Attacking Third 3-time Olympian, including winning gold in 2020 with Canada Soccer, an NWSL legend, and now an Ottawa Rapid FC midfielder, Desiree Scott, who came out of retirement not just for this A3 interview, but also to play in the NSL. Desiree, welcome to Attacking Third. How are you?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Oh, good. We are so excited to chat with you about this. You played most recently in the NWSL just last year. You pulled a little switch and bait on us, a tearjerker, because you announced retirement. We all cried and celebrated you. And then you were like, psych, I'm coming back to play for the Northern Super League. Why was this the right decision for you?
Yeah, I did say I was retiring from the NWSL. I was very, particular in my messaging, We just dropped the W and now it's NSL. For me, this is a venture that has been talked about in Canadian national team locker rooms. It's something that, Diana Matheson, a dear friend of mine, has been working on for the last couple of years and something that this country needs. So all those things paired and being on the tail end of my retirement, it was a decision where I knew I was going to be involved in the league, but in what capacity? And then Ottawa came to the board and asked me to play and help lead the next generation. And for me, it was just about continuing to have impact and on the game and doing it in my home country. It was kind of just a no-brainer to put the boots back on.
This league is so lucky to have you. So how far are you from your hometown with the team that you're playing for?
I'm about a 2.5-hour plane ride.
Okay, plane ride. So are you already in your market training and with the team and all those things and feeling the
Yeah.
community and how excited they are?
Yes, very long preseason for this old gal, but we've been together for about 2 months now training, and kickoff for the league starts on Wednesday here, and our home opener is on April 27th. So we're getting close.
This is also exciting. Desiree, you're gone now from NWSL retiree to now NSL pioneer. Do you feel like there's more responsibility on your shoulders as the first to come forward? And what are your what water do you hope to carry as this league embarks on this whole new frontier?
Yeah, calling me a pioneer, that's big words right there. No. For
Mhm.
me, I think I do carry that weight. I think, a lot have said it's so important that you're coming to the league and helping to build it in year one. And I do feel that impact and that responsibility to help lead the way and help the future generations to see that this is a place that you can come to play. And for me, it's all about building a culture within here in Ottawa, but also helping the standards across the league of what's to be expected. Having been in the NWSL for the inaugural season there, I feel like I have some experience to see, a league grow and look at its success now, one of the best leagues in the world. So I'm hoping to bring sort of my knowledge that I've learned throughout the years here to Canada and help it be successful for years to come.
Yeah, you played in the NWSL, you played in England, you've played for national team for Canada, you've played for so many different clubs in the NWSL. What is one experience that you have already brought to the team in these 2 months of preseason, or maybe as the season gets going and travel starts and there's matches? What's one thing from all your years of playing that you're looking to bring to your team?
I think for me, it's culture and connection amongst the group. I think what is crazy about this league is every single team is starting from scratch. We don't have, last season to build on. We don't have, I had to still learn people's names and tendencies. And so I think a team can be really successful when the culture is right and you guys are playing and have each other's backs to the left and right of you. So I'm hoping to just build that connection and culture within Ottawa, because I think the soccer will come through our very long season.
So you're captain, I'm assuming.
I am one
Go
of. There's a couple, but yes, I am.
Good for you. Congrats.
Thank you.
So did you know your coach before you started with them, and also have you noticed a difference in style of play? Like what can we expect to see in this Canadian league that's different than the NWSL?
Yeah, didn't know our coach Kat. Thought I might have played against her on the national team, but I did not against Denmark. So she's awesome. I think she is a coach who wants to keep possession of the ball. We have midfielders who want to get on it, as you know, fellow midfielders. So we want to keep the ball and play and make sure fans are excited about the product that we're putting on the pitch. Again, I think there's patience with that. That's just the reality that we are building something from scratch and putting different players together from different experiences. Some it's their first year pro, others have been in the game since they were babies. So it's going to take some time to build and really find those connections on the field. But I think everyone is so excited to be here and get involved and put a product out that we can be proud of. But definitely going to be some growing pains and learning each other from the jump, I think.
Desiree, we were just talking about right before you came on the fact that with these 6 teams in the NSL, 75 games across the season, McCall was giving me a geography lesson as well about Canada and how vast it is. What are some of the challenges that you foresee your team and this league having to overcome in just its first year?
Yeah, I think initially, when we were building this league, I say we like I built it. No.
You're a pioneer.
You are.
Part of it.
I think the initial goal was to have 8 teams from the jump. We fell a little bit short with 6, but and in just reality, I think it's a long season. It's a lot of games, and you have a very, very big country, and you're going coast to coast. So I think with that comes challenges of travel. There's a lot of games and a lot of moving pieces there. I think you have different time zones, and then you're trying to fit in training. So it's just about managing the schedule. And it's been unique because you're having to balance, football season with the CFL and the CPL. So it's been a bit chaotic in terms of just scheduling, I would say. And I think players are going to realize that we might be living out the suitcase a little bit and having to manage those time zones and training and game load as well. I think it's a lot of games for 6 teams.
You have done
think-
it though, right? You've done it with national team and with club. What's your secret to staying fresh, to recovering from all the travel, time zone change, and playing a lot of games? Give us some insight.
Some insight. For me, I make sure I take a lot of naps. Try and adjust to the time zone prior to maybe where you're going. Let's say we're going West Coast. Maybe you're going to bed a little later or a little earlier, trying to adjust those things ahead of time. And just the recovery piece. I think, having the Normatec boots on, doing the most, not only if you're 37, but if you're new to the league, I think recovery is key, especially with how many games we're playing and all the travel and flights.
I think I'm going to crowdsource from the chat because there's a really fun question they've dropped in here. They want to know, which was your favorite Kaylin Sheridan costume? And does the Canada national team have any other fun traditions that you can share with us?
Good question. I think my Kaylin always came with it for the Halloween parties, but I'm gonna say one of my favorites was the elf costume. And I think the lead up, like she was in the escalator in our hotel, like with the widespread legs, drinking maple syrup, like she goes full character, which I could appreciate. Yeah.
Desi, we're talking a little bit about different teams, different players we might know across the league. We, as in NWSL fans, people that have followed the league closely. From your perspective inside the Ottawa locker room, what are some other teams' reputations right now, players on those other teams? Give us like a little scouting report across the NSL.
Nice. Yeah. So I'm obviously in Ottawa, and I think there's maybe across the league a little bit of like vibes for Toronto, like they might, like the West Coast is like Toronto's the game we want to win. In Ottawa, there's like some players like in Ontario, let's build a rivalry here. So I feel like Toronto is the big team that other teams want to beat.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing in the locker rooms anyways. I think across the board, you've got some great talent, obviously. Toronto, young. You've got Canadian national team players. Emma Reagan just got back to camp. Victoria Pickett, who's a beast in the midfield. And then you've got your Montreals, who are just all local talent. I think they really stuck to keeping it Canadian and very Montreal. So I think they're kind of a dark horse of who we're going to see. You go to the West Coast, I feel like it's the Canadian national team of the league. I think what a beautiful place. It's a hot spot. And a lot of national team presence there with Quinn and Shannon Wohler. And then you've got the Steph Labes from front house to like on the pitch. I think that's just a fun place to be, but obviously we want to beat them. So
The competition is already building.
it is. There's some trickling. Sure.
So Desi, one thing that sticks out to me is, so the roster size rules in the NWSL is the minimum is you can have is 22 players, the maximum is 26. But in y'all's league, it's the minimum is 20 players and the maximum is 25, and you play a lot more games. So do you feel that you have the player resources that you need, the medical treatment that you need? Are you feeling comfortable with the foundation to help you guys play that many games with a smaller roster size?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that you need to consider in terms of long season, running so many games, making sure clubs are set up in the right way to support players and their bodies as we put our bodies on the line for our clubs. So there's definitely a good infrastructure in place. And I think as the season goes on, you might need a little bit more support in that space with more minutes on the legs and maybe injuries popping up. And with a smaller roster, hopefully you have everyone available. But again, it's being part of this first, you don't know what to expect and what you need, but I'm hoping that, everyone who has some experience from each of their teams can really push the standards of what's needed to get through a season like this and what's required for top athletes to succeed.
It sounds like you have such a great mentality going into it. Like your headspace is right where it needs to be. You're like, this is not going to be easy, but we're going to make it beautiful. I love that about you.
I think you got to have that, right? Yeah. I think, you set a bar high, but you've also got to have the realities of this is year one. And I think the expectation being in women's sport is like, we see what the NWSL is doing. I came from Kansas City, brand new training facility, my very own stadium. Like I got to experience that. And so I know what the best of the best is, but I've also been where I had to change in my car and didn't have a locker room at all. So I kind of have just the perspective of patience. We're going to get there, but it's going to take time.
God bless you for doing it twice, girl.
Honestly, like you can never say she doesn't love the game, because when you achieve so much in your career, to say, okay, let's go back to square one and build something all over again. I mean, yes, it's a little crazy, but it's admirable.
Well, I appreciate that.
I want to ask about the difference in the NWSL because, yes, although we are subconsciously, consciously comparing it to that even 2013 when the NWSL started and there were eight teams, the Northern Super League is owned by the 6 individual founding clubs that are part of it. Knowing kind of how the NWSL started and how the Northern Super League started, it feels like it's already a little bit different for the NSL. How does having the teams and be their own owners of the league make things different? Is it almost like an even playing field across the board for these teams, or how is that from inside of it?
For me, I kind of feel like we're having conversations from our coaches to like the CEOs, which I feel like everyone from across coast to coast wants this league to be successful because they do have ownership within the teams, and they want the Northern Super League to be a success. So I think everyone has a common ground of wanting to do this the right way from the jump. And I think it just puts you all on a common page. And I feel like this is a league that is starting off better than maybe the NWSL did in 2013, with some of the facilities you're seeing, with the conversations that are happening, and just the perspective and mindset from ownership and coaches. And I think they just want to involve the players in that conversation, which I think is great. And a thing we maybe didn't have in the NWSL from the jump is our voice being heard and felt and like it was important.
Okay, Desi. So we have the league starting tomorrow. We got our opening game, but your team isn't playing until April 27th. So is the team doing a watch party tomorrow? How are you taking in this opening match?
We do have a season ticket holder event that we're having. And so we're going to be tuning in as well with it on the Jumbotron just to do a little scout report. But also, this is an exciting time. I think it's crazy that it's the first game and we're here. And I might have a little tears in the eyes because I know all the work that's been put in behind the scenes. And again, something we've dreamed about. So to just see it come live on TV is going to be special.
Oh, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. This is great.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm excited. Thank you.
You're rocking a kit for us. Take us through it. This is a sneak peek of what we can see on the pitch.
Ooh, humble.
Yes.
Wow.
You know,
Looking good.
the entire sponsor, Ottawa Rapid logo, repping it proudly. I went from teal to some more teal, which is fun. Yeah, I mean, it's just a kit, signifies the rivers, the lightning. We've got the peregrine here as the fastest bird, apparently.
Cool.
I don't know, Desiree, that looks like a villain kit. So I expect Ottawa to be the meanies. I don't know.
Hey, let's go.
Dark arts?
Destroyer mode activated. That's right.
Oh, destroyer mode activated. You are the destroyer on the pitch. Okay, McCall, you've played against Desi. How was it in the midfield?
It's not fun.
Against her?
It is not fun. She
I
is
can say
so
the same about you, McCall.
hardly ever makes mistakes, always makes the right decision, is everywhere. Right when you think you've escaped her, there she is again. Her positioning is so smart all the time. Like I loved playing against you because I knew I had to be my best.
It was definitely a battle in the midfield with you. I agree.
Desiree, thank you so much for joining us and chatting. Congratulations on being a pioneer of the Northern Super League. Everyone, go watch the NSL. You can watch it on ESPN Plus. Cheer for Desiree Scott and Ottawa Rapid. Good luck this year. Congrats.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Don't go anywhere, guys. We've got more Attacking Third coming up next. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. We are talking the Northern Super League, everything about it that we need to know. It was really cool, guys, to hear from Desiree Scott, someone who's on the inside, and McCall going through it twice, right? That was kind of a theme of what we talked about with her, the fact that she helped launch the NWSL in 2013, and now she's doing it again in 2025 with the Northern Super League. It's not easy by any means to do that.
Okay, I loved hearing from her and all her inside perspective, and she's so positive and she feels so great about it. I'm like, now I'm rooting for you guys too. To do it twice, I think, it's her country. and she feels like she already served America and now it's happening in her country. And if you can put yourself in those shoes, if it worked opposite for me, if I played in Canada my whole life and then they're like, I'm starting a league, and I'm like, well, you know what I mean? You have this pride where you're like, okay, I got to come out of retirement and keep going. You know, I got to do this. And she's not too far away from home, it sounds like. So I'm just so happy for her, you know, that because they've served our league for such a long time. Some people forget that the first 3 years of the NSL was backed by Mexico, Canada, and US Soccer. And they came in to help us grow and build this league. And so we owe some back to Canada as well. And for now, those players to go be happy and close to their homes and building something in their country for sure.
Christine, I mean, when we look at the broader picture of the women's soccer landscape, this is huge to add another league in. But then specifically, when we just look at North America, we've already started to have these cross-country competitions with the Summer Cup last year, the NWSL against some Liga MX teams. We're starting to have a little bit more CONCACAF club competition. Now with the NWSL, the USL Super League, Liga MX Femenil, and now the Northern Super League. That's 4 different top tier divisions professional leagues in just one continent that we are competing against. This is huge. I mean, it's growing it constantly, but how could this change the landscape of women's professional soccer in
I
North
think
America?
that this is massive. And I think that NWSL more recently tipped a domino without realizing, alleviating the draft, which creates more competition and the ability to proliferate other women's leagues to the same standard. And obviously, NWSL is the gold standard right now as far as domestic soccer goes. The interesting part is now we're going to see different styles emerge in North American soccer. We already have that with Liga MX Femenile, where they're more fluid, they're kind of silky in their play. Obviously, NWSL pace, athleticism, you got your trickery, your pressing. Canada, like I assume it's probably going to be a hybrid of the two of them. It's going to definitely be this probably possession based system. I think that it'll probably be built in favor of the systems that they want to be playing at the national team level, given the high percentage of Canadian players. And I think that it'll be an awesome platform to highlight specifically Canada players. And I think it adds to this more broad portrait of what women's soccer is and can be, not just in North America as it continues to grow, but like more broadly. This is a boon for all of us.
What will it take to get players to Canada and to this Northern Super League, right? Because I imagine the goal of the NSL is to compete directly with the NWSL for players, for viewership, for everything, right? Even to create cross competition amongst them. So, what is it going to take for them to grow the Northern Super League?
Well, and I think they're competing with the USL League here in America as well. So now these players in this continent all of a sudden have 3 major leagues to choose from and to go to. And now with global free agency and away with the draft, it's like now they're going to have to do more to get players and keep players. So that will keep pushing the narrative for salary cap and how much players are paid and those little extra tidbits, which entice players to come to their market and come to their team. So the competition is good. It's healthy. It's pushing the sport and each league now that they have neighbor competition.
Yeah, I think it's going to take significant, serious investment and time. And as you do that, and you can see the growth with NWSL itself in more recent years, that's where you got that influx of dollars, attention, broadcasting rights, spotlights, and it does come. I think it's to optimize every opportunity that you have. You have these burgeoning leagues, USL, again, another league that is just starting to get its first steps in, right? Like we're not even really into the terrible twos yet for them, but there's something promising there. And I think it's a matter of structuring, investment, time, and then just being able to get into all these gaps and holes and providing good quality competition. You need to entertain people. And I think that that's possibly the hardest part that NSL will have right now is that because it's so few teams and you need more eyes on, but there's so often the competition, the retention rate will be a challenge because people will have watching fatigue or attending fatigue.
Mhm. The one thing that the Northern Super League has right now that is very helpful. I mean, they have a lot of things going for them, but they have so much player buy-in. They have so much positivity coming from all these players that have left their clubs where they maybe had contracts or had options for contracts, and they turned that down to go play in Canada. That's an advantage, right? I mean, even when you think about the NWSL in 2013, there was nowhere else to play. So it was almost by default, we're going to have players here. So the fact that so many have already left the NWSL and gone to play in the Northern Super League is a step in the right direction for the Northern Super League. Also, the player positivity. I mean, you couldn't get any more positive out of Desiree Scott. And that's the type of person she is. But also, when you start off on that type of high, you have a little bit more cushion to come down and to understand some of those valleys that you're going to fall into as a league. They're not going to be as deep because everyone is bought in. They also have the experience. There are so many players that started in the NWSL or have learned from it or gone through the CBA negotiations over the last several years and understand what it takes, or have that, even if they didn't do it themselves in the PA negotiating meetings like McCall was, they talked to players like McCall and learned from it. So they have all this experience that's going to help the Northern Super League be far more successful just because of the timing it is coming into this league and having a leg up with just the knowledge and the experience that they have right now.
And another attraction for these players could be to be a part of something, to build something, to grow something. Like that is a good feeling where it's like, hey, I'm going to have value and importance and an impact. And, you know, that could be an attraction why players are going to leave there to start and grow something. Like there's nothing more rewarding, right? The league here in the NSL is great. It's fine. It's going to thrive. It's awesome. Thank you to all the players in the past have made it happen because it's here to stay. But to go have that challenge now to grow something else, you know, up north is really neat. And, you know, some of these players can be franchise players. They can play there for many years, and they were the reason and that it's growing, and they started the infrastructure for it.
I think I'm even more interested too in how this can potentially start to link all of these different leagues together, not just maybe in like an American Champions League, but I would even like to, at this point, revisit a women's US Open Cup competition in the States. So where we get like, there are enough, if there's anything that's been illuminated in recent years, it's the number of teams, amateur, otherwise, even women in TST, would suggest that we could have a US Open Cup where you have amateurs, pros across all of the leagues and have an absolutely dynamite competition. And it makes me sad that doesn't exist, but I'm already looking ahead where I'm like, hey,
I love
Women's
it. Do you know how
Champions League.
spicy like USL, NWSL, and the NSL going into like a tournament could be?
Give me, literally take all of my dollars. I would like, that's all I want right now. I just got goosebumps. No, like I think that that would be probably one of the more exciting things that we've seen. I know that NWSL are trying in sort of an insular environment to do these Liga MX summer cups and things like that, and friendlies with some of the WSL teams in the summer. But I think that that would be the big splash. Like, take all the guards off. Let's do it.
How long would it take until we had to get there, Christine? How many years do you think of the NSL existing?
I think we'd probably have to get them to like a quorum of like a core 12 teams before they could move forward to do something substantial, because I think that they need to stoke their own fires right now. And so every bit of their investment needs to come back to them, get their competition up where they're not necessarily having, and I say this knowing full well that NWSL does have a bulk of teams that enter into playoffs, but where that playoff cap is smaller. Like I think that
Yeah.
those need to get tighter across the leagues, though NWSL has the most parity, which makes it so good. I just think start hacking those, make them smaller, make it more challenging to get into playoffs, see who rises to the top, and then throw them all in a blender. Let's go. Like, let's see who can win.
It's interesting because Desi mentioned how they wanted to have 8 teams initially and they didn't get there. And it's because individual clubs are owners, right? And buying in ownership. I'm very interested to see what the next 5-10 years looks like for this NSL. And they're probably like, whoa, slow down. I mean, they're excited about it, but we haven't even had game 1 yet.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that they were like, okay, we're not ready, pull back. They didn't force it. They didn't shove a team in there who's not ready, who doesn't have the resources and the infrastructure for success. I appreciate that they were like, okay, let's not grow too fast too soon. And like, let's look at a couple of facts to compare as well. So the salary cap in the NWSL versus the salary cap in the NSL. So it's 1.6 for salary cap in NSL and 3.3 for NWSL. Right. So you have to think, but the roster sizes are smaller, but the minimum salary in the NSL is $50K, which is higher than the NWSL.
What is it in the NWSL? 48.5?
48.5.
48.5. So that's
and
a pull.
escalating. It will continue to get higher
about
every
a
year.
year of Starbucks difference.
Taxes difference.
Is that a pull as well, McCall, to the higher salary and money initially?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if, you look at all the things as a player, when you're looking at a market to go play in, you're thinking automatically, am I going to get playing time? Am I going to have a space on this roster to fit in? Am I vying for a starting spot? That's what we all want. We all have pride in some regard, right? But also, what am I getting paid? Do I like the area? Do I like my coach, my teammates, their style of play? Is the stadium awesome with a great soccer community? Like, these are all the things that go into your mind when you choose a club. And if you like money, if that's important to you, then, an extra $2,000 on the salary cap might make sense to you, especially if you're a young player.
We don't know what any of these styles are going to be like, though.
No.
So how do you pick that? How do you take that into consideration?
Exactly. That's why, like, God bless all these women. Like, they're kind of just laying the land blindly and kicking it off for everybody.
Canada women's soccer, Canada soccer in general, has had its ups and downs over the last couple of years, right? They won gold at the Olympics in Tokyo in 2020. That was a series of events that led them to the top of the podium, and well-deserved. Congratulations to that team. But they've also had this roller coaster of style of play that they've been trying to do, a change in coaching staff. Now Casey Stoney is at the helm. This league is hopefully going to be a feeding ground to Canada soccer, right? To get players more professional time so that it can be a trickle down effect, similar to the way US soccer has set up having a professional league to then create more opportunities for players. How could the Northern Super League change the style of play at Canada soccer?
You mean ways they can improve?
Yeah.
I think there's a number of ways they can improve. And what I like to see about this league already is there's players from all over the world. It's not just Americans and Canadians. Like, there's French players in there. There's players from all over, right? So just as it helped the American League playing against more flair, like, we always were athletic and fast and route one kind of football. But then when you bring more players like French, Brazil, then that flair comes in. So then we're kind of adding the value of technique and possession oriented and not wasting the ball. And I think that's really improved our league here in America. And I think having different players, more dynamics in Canada, it will grow their sport and their game on the international level as well.
All right, guys, we got the Northern Super League. It's all starting. I am so excited to watch it. It kicks off tomorrow. We get opening match day. That is Vancouver Rise FC hosting Calgary Wild FC, 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can watch it on ESPN Plus in the States, but let's go through it. We got the 6 teams, predictions. Who's going to win it? Who's going to score all the goals? What's your favorite logo? Hit us, Christine. What are you looking at?
Obviously I'm rooting for Toronto, and that was just further reinforced by Desi, who was like, yo, everybody's got eyes on Toronto. And I was like, I knew I was of impeccable taste. Thank you. I think they should come out guns blazing. If you already have the rep, you got to step up. So I feel like, hey, like, they've already heaved that responsibility on their shoulders. Let's see it through. That's where I'm at.
So Toronto to the title?
Like, fresh out the gate. God bless them. They're going to be playing 75 games. I will see you at the end. Brutal.
In looking at the names and the logos and the geography of the Northern Super League, guys,
sure you looked at the geography?
I'm backing Halifax Tides. I want this team to go all the way. I love their logo. I love their crest, what they've done with it. They are living out on the island and all the way on the East Coast.
Giants do have the best badge. I have to hand that to you.
I'm
It's
with
pretty
Michael.
cool, but I know what you're
Agree.
thinking. They're going to win all their home
I'm
games.
so angry.
They're
They're
going to
going to
win
win
all their home
their
games.
home games.
They're going to win
because
all their home
it's so
games,
hard
McCall.
to travel
Yes.
there. The players are going to be like, you know.
Exactly. And if you win all your home games, that's at least 50% of it. They're making the playoffs. And then from there, it's just a 2-legged semifinal, a 1-match championship. Let's go, Halifax.
All right. I got to stick with my Vancouver Whitecaps, baby. I trust in Sinclair. I trust in LeBay. And they're playing at Swangard Stadium, which is actually in and around Sinclair's hometown where she was born and raised, which is cool for her. So they're gonna have amazing fans. They already have a beautiful infrastructure from over 15 years. They have great players. You know, they have 3 NSL stars that are pretty much their spine in the middle. I think they're going to perform well. I think they're going to play Toronto in the final, and Vancouver's going to take it.
Wow.
You know what? Because it's Vancouver Rise, like I feel like I'm gonna try to make this. I'm gonna make it like up the rise, some ridiculous. I'm gonna make a tagline. I'm just gonna keep just tweeting it out until it finally catches. Just up the rise, and people are gonna be like, "What?" I'm gonna be like, "Exactly."
I'll give it just a couple weeks into the season. We'll have catchphrases. We'll have the chaos that comes with it, right? NWSL After Dark. We'll get something for like NSL, like Northern Skies Chaos or something. The fans will give us the correct phrasing and the things to say. But it was very fun talking with you guys about this. Hopefully we gave some people some insight on the NSL. We had a lot of people joining us live on YouTube, asking us questions, cheering for different teams, wondering how this is going to work. And I think you guys did a great job explaining it and breaking it all down. So thanks for hanging with us, guys. Thanks for joining Attacking Third. It was great to hear from Desiree Scott as well. Attacking Third is back this Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, live on YouTube. So if you hang with us, as always, come back at 11 o'clock on Thursday. And if you're listening as a podcast, you can get this anywhere you find your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. Thanks for hanging today. For Christine, McCall, and Mark, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.